Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagenel. We are joined here in studio today with Victoria Sinclair and Chris Ingstad. We've got another fun-filled, action-packed episode. This is the pre-Christmas special. So how excited are the kids? Are they intolerable yet at your house,
Oh,
Victoria?
yeah. Although I'm going to miss having that like threat of Santa's not coming.
Yeah.
You know, that's a nice one to hold up over their head. And there's a lot more winter where we're all stuck in a small house together to go still. So,
do the kids get so excited they just become naughty?
I don't know. They've still got school to occupy them for most of their time today and tomorrow.
Well, you have good kids too.
Sure. No, the kids are good. We'll see when they're home for 3 or 4 days in a row and haven't ripped open the presents yet.
So, do the presents get opened on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or a hybrid?
Well, at my house, they're already open because the 2-year-old decided to go on one of his many escapades in the middle of the night and unwrap all the gifts under the tree. So just like when he fed his fish pancakes the other day and fed his baby brothers some pancakes too. And
fish like a big breakfast.
That fish, unfortunately, did not. The 2 full cans of food 2 days earlier did not do him in, but the pancakes were enough to end it for him. So
baby brother still okay though?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that kid's fine. He's tough. He's got to be. It's the survival of the fittest thing in our house, I think.
We'll do some grandparents and cousins on Christmas Eve after church, and then just our family Christmas morning.
Yep. That's Christmas morning. We're purists on that. So it'll be good. How many times now? We asked this before. I'm checking back in. Have you watched Christmas Vacation? Victoria?
Zero.
You were given a homework assignment.
I know. Well, I didn't do it. I'm sorry. Okay. I wrote your issue guide though. So.
Oh, okay. Well, mine. Okay.
Ours.
Anyway, we're on 2.5, but there's still a lot of time before Christmas. Your house had a viewing yet?
No.
Okay.
But the difference is I've seen it countless times, right? I probably could go line by line when the movie's actually on.
Well, and we may get there yet today on this fun-filled freewheeling podcast.
Look, if it's not animated, I field constant complaints the entire time that we're watching anything. So anything that's not animated is the news, and that's objectively bad for my children.
Yep. Chris is over here getting a little bit frustrated because he wants to get to property taxes and skip all this Christmas nonsense.
I was weighing whether my Christmas vacation quote would be appropriate or not. Because we'll skip it.
Well,
he's probably in the same boat I am, where he just wants to get out of here so he can go to the mall and try to pick up some presents. Because haven't finished with that yet. So
briefly before we move on, I want to go over to the sports desk with Victoria. What's on tap for Christmas for sports for you?
Okay, well, it's going to be a lot of sports. The Christmas being on Sunday kind of messed with the whole NFL schedule, but that means we just get a whole weekend of football, it looks like. Starting with Thursday, I'm pretty pumped. The Jaguars are going to beat the Jets. I'm calling it right now. Then we go into a bunch of games on Saturday, actually, and then a few more on Sunday.
What's your pick? Give us the Jimmy the Greek, Victoria the Greek.
This is going to be like the election.
Can I maybe put a pitch in or a plug in not to go Jimmy the Greek style? You remember how that ended?
Okay. Just pick the non-controversial part of it.
Okay, so, I'm just going to drop a big bomb here then, I guess, because the real controversial thing is that I'm actually a Lions fan.
Oh,
and I don't like to talk about it because the Lions generally, look, they unexpectedly perform, and my expectations are always like the floor. Like, I go into every game expecting them to lose because that's probably what'll happen. And I'm never disappointed.
Well, and it gives you something to watch on holidays. Right. The Lions are like the holiday team.
Yeah, and they've been on like a really hot streak lately. Like they're doing actually pretty well. So I think they might actually take the Panthers this week.
So take the Lions this weekend.
Wild card, yeah. But the Bengals are doing really well too. The Chiefs are going to win. Brock Purdy is killing it.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of good games coming. The Bills are going to smoke the Bears. That's easy. I don't know. It's interesting. The Eagles are the one team that I'm a little bit puzzled about. So
we've talked about this before. We really do need to get down to business.
Sorry.
But I'm going to ask Chris this next question. Should Hawkeye fans celebrate the success of Brock Purdy?
I think Hawkeye fans can be neutral on Brock Purdy. There's no reason to hate just because he's from Iowa State. That being said, Purdy was not an Iowa high school product, was he?
Not at all. Arizona.
So we don't need to go out of our way to celebrate, but it is totally okay to say he is doing a great job. He really is, and there's no no more and no less. He's doing a great job.
I think that's right. And it'd be a fun story even if it had no Iowa connections of any kind at all.
I mean, like David Johnson, one, not only did Iowa and Iowa State both pass on, but there's an Iowa, high school product that some of us kind of watched as he was growing up. So that's a little different. Sort of take pride in David Johnson, the Iowa native. Brock Purdy, I mean, have at it, good job. We don't need to hate, but he's not from Iowa.
Okay.
So.
All right.
You guys got your claim to fame with the Iowa girl. What is his name now? Gosh, I'm blanking. He was from like the Sheraton area. Or like Lucas, I don't know, somewhere down southern Iowa.
You mean T.J. Hawkinson?
Yeah, there we go.
Who your beloved Lions just traded away?
Yeah,
to the Vikings.
I know, and he's killing it for the Vikings.
It was part of the biggest comeback in NFL history last weekend.
Yeah, it was huge.
All right,
huge. Good weekend.
Well, importantly, Chris has got a Christmas present for all of us here from ITR Foundation that is going to be delivered and published just in time for everyone to enjoy over the holidays.
Yep.
Tell us all about it.
Well, much like gifts at home where I get credit even though my wife maybe went and sourced them and ordered them and wrapped them, I'll go ahead and take credit for this report even though John and Sarah are the ones who wrote it and put it together. But it is a property tax toolkit, and we have a number of solutions that could be applied to property taxes to help rein in the growth of local budgets. And we had to come up with a bunch of solutions, Chris and Victoria, because there are lots of avenues that local governments, particularly cities and counties, can take to ultimately take and spend more of your money. And so there's a lot of places we need to rein them in or put some controls on them to slow down this growth of property taxes. And Chris, in fact, you have used a couple opportunities lately to highlight the need for some property tax relief and reform. Maybe you could tell us about those opportunities.
Well, last week, the governor every year has her budget hearings, which is an opportunity for the public to speak to the governor and the lieutenant governor and her team on whatever issue really they want to bring to her on matters affecting the budget. And so I had an opportunity to get one of those 2 minutes to highlight the need for property tax reform next year, and specifically something that we are advocating. There's a lot of ideas in the toolkit, and there's a lot of ideas that Victoria is going to be taking to the Capitol this year inside of the ITR issue set, but is just freezing property tax payments for 2 years. Iowans have this rapidly escalating property tax bill, which is going to go up again next year. And while this is going to take many years to work through.
I mean, Chris, this is a big guide.
That's right.
Yes.
To get it all done, it's going to take a little while. But while we sift through what a better system looks like, let's just press pause. And so it's a little bit more nuanced than just a immediate freeze on local government spending. But what we're advocating is that individual taxpayer next year doesn't have to pay any more than they paid this year. So things like new growth and construction, those will come online. Improvements to properties will come online. And cities and counties specifically can tap into their substantial reserves that they've built up. So we just think it's time to press pause.
They'll continue to get their sales tax revenues.
Correct.
They'll get it all. They'll be just fine.
They might even be able to afford to build a Target in Waukee.
Yeah. Wow, we didn't even plan on going there, but 100 and how much was it? 130 some.
No, but there's going to be a lake.
Yeah.
So great.
Gonna build a lake.
Your tax dollars at work, folks.
Which I saw one of the drawings of that project. The lake was actually behind the Target, which is where everyone, goes for a good time.
It's the lagoon, actually.
They're take the stormwater runoff pit behind the building and call it a lake. But hey, whatever.
But Chris, that wasn't the only opportunity you had lately to talk about maybe freezing property taxes till we get arms around this.
Yeah, there was a good piece last night on Channel 2 in Cedar Rapids that I had a chance to give some thoughts on about the 2-year freeze and the need to reform property taxes. I thought that piece turned out really well. It had comments from both Speaker Grassley and Minority Leader Confrist, myself, and Iowa State Professor Peter Erasm. I worry I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. But what I took away from it, beyond the, seeing myself on TV, which I don't really enjoy all that much, but is that our leaders are talking about the need for property tax reform, and that is going to be a big issue at the legislature this year. And maybe to frame that up is that, and I've said it over and over on this, but it bears repeating, the legislature and the governor have done a tremendous job over the past several years of limiting spending, of controlling the growth in government, and that has led to the ability to enact very meaningful income tax cuts. That's great. Full credit to them for that. And what it is time is now for local governments in Iowa to do the same, is that they have gotten a free ride of being able to tax and spend and build many things. And not every community is the same. Many of them do it the right way or don't have, the $130-some million. And I know that's the developer, but to build a Target. But it's time for local government to restrain itself and to benefit taxpayers in a way that they have not yet to this point.
No, Chris, and you bring up a key point there, and I know, Victoria, you'll probably be hammering it at the Capitol this year, but it is actually about restraining local governments, because property tax history in Iowa is filled with instances where we tried to do something, raising a new stream of revenue or shifting the burden in order to deliver property tax relief. That's how we got an income tax in Iowa. That's how we got a sales tax in Iowa. As we were in last week, as we did a deep dive on education finance, that was part of the reason we redid or instituted the foundation formula for education in 1971, was to provide property tax relief. We've done all these things to provide property tax relief over the years, essentially shifting the burden to another source of funding. And Iowans are still frustrated with a growing property tax burden. And so, look, we should consider reform. So if there's a better way to do something and that involves some sort of shift, we can think about that. But we're not really going to make progress on property tax relief, at least not sustainable progress, unless we find a way to slow down the spending.
Real tax relief comes from restraining government. And so it's a point I made at the governor's budget hearing and have made in other times. Shifting the burden from one source of revenue to another does not restrain government. It just changes how we pay for it. The overall need for taxpayer dollars continues unchecked. And to your point, Chris, if they're changing the way we do it as part of a better way forward, that's fine. And we're happy to have that conversation. But we need to restrain government. So, and property tax is not the only issue coming up next year. I know this is part of a year is winding down podcast episode, but Victoria, I kind of looking, and I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, but looking forward to next year, what else do you see being discussed at the Capitol in and around the issues that we care about?
I think school choice is going to be the top thing of session. I think that's going to take up most of the oxygen in that building. My bold prediction is that it gets done. I think something really good gets done. I don't know if it's at the end of the day going to look exactly like one chamber or the governor's bill. Whatever it is, though, I think that something substantial and meaningful gets done for Iowans. So that's going to be your big headline. The property tax stuff will be huge if we can get that done, too. Otherwise, a lot of littler stuff that I plan to work on that might not be headline grabbing, but a lot of good government reforms aren't necessarily headline grabbing things. Just some regulatory reform stuff, reducing the burdens on people. That costs money to comply with regulations. So, it is kind of a tax savings in and of itself. It's more of a fee savings, but it's a cost savings. But there's other things too. So licensing reform is another thing that I want to try to look at a little bit more. we have a long list of issues. Federal funds inventory, things that just are not exciting to talk about, folks, but they matter.
I'm going to make the case for some of those small things, though.
Can we put the federal funds discussion behind a paywall? I think people would pay to hear Victoria and I talk about that.
That's subscription-only content at taxrelief.org.
That'll be the new one, yeah.
Yeah. The little things matter because the growth of government, both in terms of its how much it taxes, but its power over our lives, often grows incrementally over time in little things here and there. And to peel it back sometimes takes little smaller bills, but they're still meaningful and they still secure additional freedom for Iowans. So yes, they may not be headline grabbing, but those little things in the aggregate become meaningful. And so we're going to continue to fight for some of those smaller pieces that might not excite everyone all the time, but they can have a meaningful impact on an individual and do ultimately restrain government.
Well, it's a compounding effect in
Right.
the aggregate.
And some of those things, I think, they're maybe a little harder to understand. They're certainly harder to quantify. Most of us can wrap our heads around a 3.9% flat tax, right? Some of the regulatory reform or licensing or other things that get government out of the way, which is what we want, it's difficult to quantify and maybe difficult to boil down to a nice little soundbite.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, my mom, who's been cutting hair for 40 years, missed my kid's baptism, her youngest grandchild's baptism, because she had to do her continuing education because apparently she doesn't know well enough how to cut hair after 40 years of doing it.
Been a lot of technological advances in the cosmetology world over the past several decades.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate all of that from both of you. I want to make sure that folks know the toolkit. Chris, if you're interested, how do you find the toolkit?
ITRfoundation.org. It'll be up there today in PDF form. We'll also be sending it to the printers and sending out some hard copies to our members and other folks who might be interested.
Good. And issues that Iowans for Tax Relief, our action arm is working on. Victoria?
Property tax is number one.
Yeah, but I mean, where they find it?
Oh, well, it's
Tax
our
relief?
website, right? Yeah, taxrelief.org. Yeah.
Yeah, so taxrelief.org, ITRfoundation.org. I got to make sure I put the plug in. But no, in all honesty, John's not with us today. One of our, he decided to go north and enjoy a little bit cooler weather for the holidays, but was a significant contributor to the toolkit, as well as Sarah Curry. And they put a lot of work into this, and there's a lot of really good stuff in there. So please go check it out. So with that, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Best of luck to all of my Christmas Eve Christmas shoppers like myself. Yeah. I look forward to seeing all of you as we frantically shop the aisles.
Yep. If you see Victoria at the mall on Christmas Eve, wave and say hi. And
we're in this together, folks.
Yeah, and I'm going to be home and warm, hopefully. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us. And don't forget to like and subscribe, share with your friends. And with that, we will see you next time.